On October 3, 2026, Kolkata hosts what is being billed as the biggest match in Indian football history. The national team is stepping onto the pitch against the most successful program in the sport, Brazil. The Seleção are expected to arrive in West Bengal with a near full-strength squad, bringing Brazilian icons like Vinicius Jr. to a stadium that has idolized them for generations. That devotion is no exaggeration. India possesses one of the largest Brazilian fan bases outside of South America, with local supporters often treating the yellow jersey with more reverence than their own. But the sporting reality is far more sobering. Since the introduction of the FIFA ranking system in 1992, this is the highest-ranked opponent India has ever faced. Brazil currently sits at number 5. India is at 138. It is a massive statistical anomaly. In a country of 1.4 billion people, the gap between the idol and the idolized has only widened over time, and the origins of that gap can be traced back to a specific crossroads in 1950. In 1950, Brazil hosted the first World Cup of the post-war era. After several other nations pulled out of the qualifying rounds, India was left as Asia's sole representative. It was an invitation to the world stage, yet the Indian team never made the trip. They withdrew before the tournament began. The 2026 friendly is the delayed conclusion to that 76-year-old walkout, the moment India finally stands on the pitch they avoided in 1950. For decades, a specific theory circulated to explain the withdrawal, that FIFA had banned the Indian team because they insisted on playing barefoot. While it's true that many Indian stars of the era were famous for their ability to control the ball without boots, the barefoot ban is a myth. FIFA regulations at the time did not prevent India from participating because of their footwear. The actual cause was a matter of administrative priority. Facing limited finances, the National Federation decided the World Cup wasn't worth the cost of the trip, believing the tournament was less prestigious than the Olympics. This was the era of Indian hockey's global dominance. With Olympic gold already in hand, the government and the media focused their limited resources and attention on the sports that were already delivering hardware. By opting out of the 1950 World Cup, football lost its seat at the table of international professionalism, while hockey and later cricket established the template for what an Indian sporting hero looked like. Football was left to develop in relative isolation. India did achieve a brief regional peak, winning the 1962 Asian Games. But without consistent exposure to the tactical shifts happening in Europe and South America, their infrastructure began to decay. By 2016, the developmental gap was obvious. When Brazil's under-17 squad traveled to Goa for the BRICS Cup, they dismantled the Indian youth team 3-1. Even in 2025, during an exhibition match of retired legends, the Brazilians demonstrated a level of technical poise that the Indian All-Stars struggled to match. Years of avoiding top-tier international competition had created a skill deficit that passion alone couldn't bridge. To improve, India would have to stop playing it safe. The modern shift began in 2014 with the launch of the Indian Super League. It was the first sustained attempt to bring a professional, commercial standard to the domestic game. The league brought new stadiums, foreign coaching, and full-time contracts, allowing Indian players to finally train in a high-performance environment year-round. More recently, the Federation has stopped settling for matches against low-ranked regional neighbors, instead intentionally scheduling world-class opponents like Canada and now Brazil. This aggressive scheduling represents the structural foundation India walked away from in 1950. They are finally seeking out the friction required for growth. Salt Lake Stadium in Kolkata will be the venue for this reckoning. For the national team, the goal isn't a miraculous upset. The Federation views this as a deliberate stress test, a rare chance for domestic players to face the highest possible standard of the game. Sharing a pitch with the 5-time world champions serves as a brutal but necessary education. It's an attempt to force a domestic evolution, exposing local talent to the absolute ceiling of footballing ability. By facing the Seleção in 2026, India is finally closing the loop, not with the expectation of a win, but with the structural courage to stand on the same grass they walked away from nearly 8 decades ago.